On this episode of Three Tool Players, we each give our versions of who is on the Mount Rushmore for our teams, the Mets, Phillies, and Yankees. Also, who do you want standing behind you in a barroom brawl? The 86 Mets, the 93 Phillies, or Derek Jeter? All this and more on this episode of Three Tool Players. Welcome to Three Tool Players. I'm Chris Spirit. Alongside me, as always, are the Hammer brothers, Brian and Dan Hammer. Say hello to the internets, fellas.
Hello to the internets, fellas.
Ahoy, ahoy.
Oh, this is going to be a fun week. So, thinking about our respective teams, and I thought to myself, hey, self, what would the Mount Rushmore of greatest players on each of our teams look like? You could think of four of the best players. This is a tough one for me as a Yankee fan because it's really kind of hard to argue against the four that I'm going to talk about. So flat out, there's really not going to be any surprises. That's not what I'm here to do this week, Dan. I know you're thinking long and hard at how is he going to screw us. I'm not here to do that.
Well, I was hoping that you would screw us.
Well, this is BS. He picked his game, and now he's going to play his game by his own rules.
Exactly.
You see how that works?
You're damn right.
No,
Lethal
I'm
weapon.
going
nonsense.
I'm going right off the bat right here. See what I did there? I am literally saying this, and that is no tricks, no Willy Wonka big surprise here. It's simply give me your Mount Rushmore, four greatest players of your respective teams that you would be proud to take your children, your grandchildren, to say, hey, look at those four gentlemen up there. They're the best that ever played for this team.
No tricks. So that means if we pick the wrong guy, you're not going to say you lose. Good day, sir.
No, I'm not here, Daniel. I don't have my little flute here. There aren't going to be any little orange men coming out of the woodwork singing you a wonderful tale of how bad you are. None of that is going to happen here.
Hey, and by the way, did you know why there are those four presidents that are on the monument?
Give me a history lesson, Spear. I would like to know.
George Washington was chosen because he represents the foundation of the United States as its first president and leader during the Revolutionary War. America. Thomas Jefferson was chosen to represent the expansion of the United States, most notably through the Louisiana Purchase, which nearly doubled the nation's size.
Oh.
Theodore Roosevelt represents the development of the United States through his leadership during a period of rapid economic growth and the establishment of the National Park Service. And Abraham Lincoln was chosen to represent the preservation of the United States, obviously, as he guided the nation through the Civil War and worked to abolish slavery. That's why those four gentlemen were chosen to be sculpted into the monument of Mount Rushmore.
And that's what terrifies me the most, Spear, because of this rich history and all the labor and work and development and planning that went into this beautiful monument, and the fact that we got 4th of July literally right around the corner, and how dangerous it would be for three Kryptonians to come down and immediately destroy the work that was done in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, so, I was just saying, a lot of pressure on us getting this right here. You know, a lot of pressure. This old chestnut, this old construct, not an uncommon thing to do, but we're going to do it better than everybody else. All right, then we'll do the Mets first, and I'm going to keep with the theme. In the George Washington slot, I'm going to put the man that is the most responsible for putting the Mets on the map. My first pick is Tom the Franchise Seaver. There is no other Met that has meant as much to the franchise as Tom Seaver. Seaver is not only the greatest pitcher in Mets history, but he's one of the greatest of all time. He led the Miracle Mets to their improbable 1969 World Series title, won 3 Cy Young Awards with the team, and holds numerous franchise pitching records. Seaver debuted in 1967 when he won the Rookie of the Year award after going 16-13 with 18 complete games and a 2.76 ERA. 2 years later, he led the Miracle Mets to the World Series. He went 25-7 that year with a 2.21 ERA, earning the first of 3 National League Cy Young Awards that he won as a Met and was runner-up for MVP. As a Met, he led the National League in ERA 3 times and in strikeouts 5 times. He won those 2 more Cy Young Awards with the Mets in 73 and 75. He had 5 seasons with 20 or more wins. He had 20 in 71, 21 in 72, 22 in 1975, and 21 again in 1977. We talked about the Midnight Massacre in a previous episode, so I won't rehash it all here, only to say that it crushed Met fans when he left, and we were all elated when he came back to the fold. He's one of only 2 players to be wearing a Mets cap on their plaque in the hall. He helped transform an expansion franchise into a champion. He is the franchise, and he is my first pick for the Mount Rushmore of Mets.
Yeah. Yeah. I say that's a good pick for the first one. Very good, Spear.
No surprise there. Let's move on to numero dos.
All right. In the Thomas Jefferson slot, I am going with a man who immediately changed the course of the Mets franchise when he was traded there in 1983. My second pick is Keith Hernandez.
Okay.
Interesting.
Keith wasn't happy at first about coming to a last place team when he was traded from the Cardinals in 83. He eventually warmed up to New York and quickly became a leader in the clubhouse and on the field. Hernandez was known for his deep understanding of the game. He was a, quote, walking, talking scouting report, constantly communicating with his pitchers and infielders about opposing hitters' tendencies. He would advise pitchers on how to approach certain hitters and even create defensive shifts before they became common practice. He was precise in the field and at bat. He was the best defensive first baseman of his era, if not of all time. He earned 6 Gold Gloves as a Met. He batted over 300 in his first 4 full seasons with the Mets. And in his 7 years as a Met, he had a slash line of 297, 387, 429. And although he was valued for his strategy, glove, and bat, he was perhaps most valued for his leadership. He set high standards for himself, and he held the team to those standards. Along with Gary Carter, became the first captain in Mets history in 1987 after leading the team to the World Series championship in 1986. And as much as he was loved as a player, he's perhaps loved even more for his time spent in the broadcasting booth. For the last 20 years, he's been a part of the trio known as GKR, partnering with Gary Cohen on play-by-play and with his former teammate, Ron Darling, as the other color guy. And I will fight anyone to the death who tells me that GKR isn't the best broadcast booth in baseball. Keith wasn't a homegrown Met, but since coming to the team, he made the team better on and off the field. And for that, he is my second pick for the Mount Rushmore of Mets.
I got to say, in terms of just overall star power, you got to give it to Keith Hernandez, especially for his run on Seinfeld, because he is Keith Hernandez.
And to the left.
But the
nice
idea
game,
that
pretty boy.
That's right. And the idea that he was able to get with Elaine Bennis, is that her name?
Bennis.
Yeah.
Bennis.
Elaine Bennis.
And you know, if you were to put together a Mount Rushmore of Seinfeld episodes, that episode would have to go on there.
Yeah.
The Magic Loogie would have to be in the Mount Rushmore of Seinfeld episodes. So there he is. He appears on 2 Mount Rushmores. Keith Hernandez is just the man, plain and simple.
Wonderful. What's number 3 for you, Spear?
In the Teddy Roosevelt slot, I'm going with David Wright. David Wright was named only the 4th captain in Mets history. He loved being a Met and was proud of the idea that he was made captain of the team. He was the Mets' first-round draft pick in 2001 and made his debut with the big league team a mere 3 years later, winning Rookie of the Year. Throughout the mid-2000s and the early 2010s, Wright was the cornerstone of the Mets. From 2005 to 2013, he had a 302 average with a 302, 384, and 505 slash line, and averaged 23 home runs, 93 RBIs, and 20 stolen bases per season. He was a 7-time All-Star. He won a Gold Glove twice. He was a 2-time Silver Slugger and was a member of the 30-30 Club. He earned 4 top 10 finishes in NL MVP voting. Aside from Seaver, there is no other Met that is more closely associated with the franchise than Wright. He was, and in many ways still is, the face of the franchise. His 1,585 games with the Mets are second most in franchise history behind Ed Kranepool, and he ended his career holding the franchise records for hits, runs scored, total bases, doubles, RBIs, walks, sac flies, and extra base hits. The worst part of talking about Wright is the what if. What would Wright's career have been like if he was able to stay healthy? What if he never had spinal stenosis? There was no Met fan who ever lived that didn't get teary-eyed when Wright walked off the field in his last game at Citi Field in 2018 after 2 years away. We all knew what it meant to him and what he meant to us. Wright gave his heart and soul to the Mets for 14 seasons, enduring painful injuries with remarkable resilience. For that, he is my third choice for the Mets Mount Rushmore. You know, and there were other players that I could have chosen. You know, people like to talk about Edgardo Alfonso. I could have put Jacob deGrom in here somewhere, back-to-back Cy Youngs with the team. If you're going to talk about pitchers, you could talk about Doc Gooden. Doc Gooden came into the club in the 80s with electric stuff, the fastball, the big curveball. He was the reason they set up the K corner. You could have chosen Darryl Strawberry for this. You could have chosen Ed Kranepool. There were any number of different Mets you could have chosen for the last spot here. But for the Abe Lincoln slot, I'm choosing someone who helped New York heal. My fourth choice is Mike Piazza. Mike Piazza came to New York in a trade with the Marlins in 1998, and he had an immediate impact on the team, leading them to the National League Championship Series in 1999 and then the World Series against the Yankees in 2000. He hit 220 home runs as a Met, which ranks third in franchise history. He had multiple 30-plus and 40-plus home run seasons with the team, including 40 homers in 1999 and 38 in 2000. He finished his Mets career with a .296 batting average, .915 OPS, and had 655 RPIs. He was selected to the All-Star team in 7 of his 8 seasons with the Mets, and he is the only other player in the Hall of Fame to be wearing a Mets hat on his plaque. None of that measures up to what he meant to the Mets fan base and the rest of New York after the events of 9/11. It's hard to put into words what that day meant to New Yorkers. The damage and the loss that was felt across the city cut very deeply, and no one really knew how to react. Baseball was stopped across the majors for days following the attack. It's like we all needed to stop and think and pause. Until the Mets played the first game in New York against the Braves 10 days later. They're down 2-1 in the bottom of the 8th when Piazza comes up to bat with a man on first. Mike blasts the second pitch deep into the Flushing night sky. For Met fans and for New Yorkers, it was an audible release. The sound that came from the Mets crowd at Shea Stadium that night was part cheer, part catharsis. Tears flowed freely throughout the stands as fans cheered, cried, hugged, and waved their flags. It felt like the city, for a moment, could breathe, smile, and believe again. It was just a 2-run home run, but the Mets ended up winning that game, and New York got a chance to begin to heal. For this, Mike Piazza gets the 4th and final spot on the Mets Mount Rushmore.
So kudos for this list, Spear. Well done. We're going to shift gears and look over to the southern part of the I-95 interstate, and we're going to look at Littlehammer in the city of brotherly love.
What I did was I could have picked quite a few different guys, but I wanted to go with guys that were on the Phillies for at least 10 years. That eliminates Pete Rose. I mean, Pete Rose, phenomenal player, but he is widely known for Cincinnati Reds, not for the Phillies, even though he was instrumental in the 1980s. I was like, you know what? I can't really go with him. I want to go with guys that were true Phillies, that bled Philly blood. And so for my first one, Mike Schmidt is in my George Washington Mount Rushmore.
No, go with Mount Rushmore.
Rushmore.
I think that Rushmore guy, he's
Richie Rich.
I like that.
I'm so sorry. I was just thinking of Richie Rich and the Mount Rushmore for some odd reason. So anyway, my Mount Rushmore, Mike Schmidt as my George Washington position. What can I say about this guy? He is widely regarded as one of the greatest third basemen in baseball history. He's 3-time MVP, 73, 76, and 80. Also, if you guys didn't know this, in 1980, he did win the World Series MVP as well. He is the franchise leader for the Phillies for home runs and for RBIs. Home runs, 548, RBIs, 1595. Schmidt led the National Leagues in home runs out of his 18 seasons 8 times in the National League, which is it was a surprise that I did not know that he led the league 8 years out of 18. His leadership helped the Phillies secure their first World Series in 1980, and he remains the franchise all-time leader in other categories as well, other than home runs and runs batted in. Games played, he played 2404. The WAR position player, he leads the team with 106.9 total bases. I can go on and on. If you take a look at the leader for Phillies, Mike Schmidt is across the board in so many offensive categories. So he is my first pick for our Mount Rushmore. Second pick, the first 2 picks were easy to pick. My next pick was also in that era, and that is lefty Steve Carlton. Steve Carlton, often referred to as Lefty, is the most dominant left-handed pitcher in baseball history. He has won 4 Cy Youngs. It was funny. I went to the Phillies game a couple weeks ago, and you know how they have that, like, like little monument center in the Hall of Fame section. You take a look at, like, like the World Series, the 1980 and the 2008, and then on the right side it shows the Cy Youngs, and you're like, oh, let's take a look at the Cy Youngs. Oh, that's Carlton's. That one's Carlton's. That one's Carlton's. Okay, that one is too. Steve Carlton won 4 Cy Youngs with the Phillies, spanning from his years active from 65 to 88. He has a career earned run average of 3.09. He is the franchise leader for the Phillies with over 3,000 strikeouts, 3,031 to be exact. And he has 6-time All-Star selections with the Phillies. Carlton played a pivotal role in the Phillies' success during the late 1970s and the early 80s, including their World Series victory in 1980. His intense competitive nature and ability to perform under pressure made him a cornerstone for the franchise pitching staff. So he is my second Mount Rushmore, Mount Richmore.
Those were the non-negotiable ones. I'm curious how you fill out the rest of it. Like those were the
Absolutely.
two that needed to be there. Who
Yeah.
are the other two? Let's
Or
see.
so it would have been fight on site.
I don't know.
for
You
sure.
guys are going to fight me for like the next two. I mean, like the third one is Robin Roberts. Robin Roberts, 9-time All-Star and was a consistent workhorse for the Phillies. He has 275 complete games as a Philly. Now, you think about it, I mean, like, it's not going to be like that in this day and age. You see the pitchers today, they only pitch maybe 6 innings average a game, if that. Back in the day, pitchers were workhorses. They would pitch 300 to 400 innings in a given year, about 40 to 50 starts. His win-loss record was 234 and 198. He has 6 All-Star selections. He was inducted to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1976. He was one of the first stars of the Phillies franchise. Roberts was a symbol of the Phillies during the 1950s, known for his durability and effectiveness. He also helped elevate the team to competitive status in the National League and remains one of the most beloved figures in Philadelphia history. And also, this was a little fun fact that I found out. They did make the World Series in the 1950s. Unfortunately, they were going
Go ahead,
against.
Go ahead, say it. We already know what's going to happen. Go ahead. We know the outcome.
Unfortunately,
No,
he
fortunately,
had
is the
to
word.
go against the New York Yankees. And
Oh.
the Phillies got swept in that series. But against the Yankees, he did support a 1.64 ERA. So obviously, he did not get any run support when he was pitching. So it was kind of like the Phillies against the Astros last week. Very similar.
Mhm. Mhm.
And my last one. You guys are going to be surprised to this one.
If it's Chase Utley, I'm driving over there right now, and I'm going to beat the bejesus out of you.
So for my fourth pick,
God,
it is
it's gonna be
Chase
it.
Utley.
Get the
Is
hell
in
outta
my
here.
Such a
Abe
man crush.
Lincoln.
Such a man crush.
Yeah, damn
Keep
right.
going.
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't I put Chase Utley? Who would you put in there? All right, so let me break it down for you.
Please.
Utley was a 6-time All-Star and was a key player for the Phillies' success during the 2000s. From 2005 all the way up to 2009, he was the man. He actually earned the nickname as the man. Had a career batting average with the Phillies of 280. He has 259 home runs, which leads the Phillies amongst all second basemen. He also had 1 Gold Glove in 2007. And also, if you guys are not mistaken, I'm probably you remember this, Brian, but in 2009, the World Series against the Yankees, Chase Utley hit 5 home runs in those 6 games. 2 of them were in game 1. Even though they didn't pull it out, and he brought his bat during that series.
So did the Yankees and their gloves and their arms and the wins back in the 50 and in 09.
We needed one more pitcher. We needed Cliffley there.
I object.
Yeah.
Dude,
Sustained.
he's a
Sustained.
world effing champion, so I don't want to hear it.
I object. He was
Against an expansion team.
He was part of a trio there that really did carry the Phillies through their championship or their playoff years. Jimmy Rollins or Ryan Howard, they are just as much a part of the Phillies' success through those years as Utley is. And you could have put either one of the two of them on the Mount Rushmore if you really wanted to, which is why I don't think any one of the three earned the spot because they were all a part of what was going on with those teams.
So you think all three of them cancel out one another?
I do, and in fact, I think there's another candidate that you missed that should have been in consideration for
Can I guess? Can I guess? Wait,
Go
this
ahead.
is fun. I get
Go
three
for it.
guesses, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Von Hayes.
Von Hayes, no.
Damn. All right, I got two more. Okay. Mickey Morandini.
Mickey Morandini, no.
What? Come on, man. I saw him in the supermarket as a kid. He was on like all the ballpark Franks. It was like ridiculous to see his dumb face and glove on those hot dog wrappers. All right, last one. All right, serious. Tug McGraw.
Not Tug McGraw, but you got to believe in Tug McGraw. What I will say is you could have looked pretty closely at Richie Ashburn.
I was
Not
thinking
only-
Richie, but
They named an
I
alley
have
after
to
him.
go with Utley.
I mean, not only was Richie Ashburn a tremendous Philly as a player, but he had a tremendous career post his playing days as a Phillies broadcaster. He was the consummate Philly. So I was surprised that you put a dirty player like Chase Utley on your Mount Rushmore rather than Richie Ashburn.
No, absolutely not. You know, he had solid defense and he had competitive spirit. Don't say that.
Oh,
he
is that
was,
what we
he
call
was
it?
It was competitive spirit.
Is
not
that what we call it?
dirty. That's what I call it. I call it competitive spirit.
You say tomato, I say dirty ass player.
No, it's actually tomato spirit. Tomato was the word.
That's how I
Sure.
pronounce it, damn it.
Staten Island for the win. All right, so we've got a little bit of controversy here, and that's what makes this so much fun. You know, me coming in for the anchor here for the Yankees Mount Rushmore, there's really no surprise and there's no drama here. But I do like Spears' initial thematic take here about who should be the George Washington, the Jefferson, the Roosevelt, and the Lincoln. So without further ado, there is our George Washington, which comes as no surprise is going to be George Herman. You might know him as Babe Ruth. How can you not choose him to be your foundation of your winningest franchise, considering the fact that this man was baseball? The man literally made more money than the president at the time playing for the Yankees, right? Making more money than the president of the United States. Huge thing. This guy was bigger than life. And until Hank Aaron came along, this guy was the home run king. And in my opinion, Hank Aaron is still the home run king, but I digress. That's not what this is about. You can't deny the fact that this is a guy who led the league in home runs 10 times, won 4 World Series with the Yankees. This is a man who didn't rewrite the record books. He wrote the record books.
Not to mention, he helped Benny Jet Rodriguez overcome his fears of tackling the beast in the Sandlot. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. So thank you, Babe Ruth.
Yeah, and the other thing you could say about Babe Ruth too was not just what he meant to the Yankees, like you said, it's what he meant to baseball as he went barnstorming with his team throughout the country to spread baseball to towns and smaller places that hadn't seen a professional baseball game, that had heard the legend of Babe Ruth, but had never seen it in person. So he had the wherewithal to understand that to grow the game of baseball, he needed to be out there promoting it and making sure that everyone across the country knew about it.
That's a powerful statement there too, Spears. The idea that, I mean, he also connected with America's youth. I mean, children loved Babe Ruth, and the fact that with all the charity work that he did and, the visits to hospitals and orphanages, because he himself was an orphan, a really colorful human being, not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but you got to go with Babe Ruth. Moving on to our Thomas Jefferson. You got to go with Ruth's teammate and potential rival, and that would be Lou Gehrig, also known as the Iron Horse. Now, everyone knew of his prowess and his ability to hit for power, hit for average, right? He was pretty much a 5-tool player, but the man also played in 2,130 consecutive games for the Yankees. The reason why he's called the Iron Horse. The man is tough as nails and grit, and he showed what it would be like to just dominate with the Yankees, but also to do it in a way that showed just blue collar workmanship and overall attitude. The thing that makes me think about this gentleman too is obviously the disease that's named after him, but the fact that he had to step down earlier in his career because he got sick. And the idea that he delivered one of the most powerful speeches to the nation at Yankee Stadium, just to say, I've gotten a bad break, but I still consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. That just sends reverberations across the country. It's something that motivates, it inspires, and that's why I say that this is the man that helped grow baseball even further.
That consecutive game record stood for decades until Cal Ripken came around. Those are records that will never be touched again, given the way athletes play the game today and how they get rested and whatever. Those records will stand the test of time for a very, very long time.
See, I disagree, and here's why. Because I don't recognize Cal Ripken Jr.'s record because daddy and nepotism, nepo baby, let him play every single day.
Of all the people to give nepo baby to, Billy Ripken, yes, not Cal. Okay.
All right. I mean, I was going to say, aren't we trying to get like a sponsorship from Pickles Pub, and like you're ruining it right now, Brian.
I'm ruining it.
Don't do it.
I'm ruining it.
Don't do it.
I'm just kidding, Pickles Pub. All right. Going in for number 3, this is an interesting one, but I'm going to go with Joey DiMaggio. As you know, he's very famous for his 56-game hitting streak, but he was not only was a power hitter, but he was also very graceful in the outfield. He won 9 World Series rings. 9 times.
In 13 seasons.
In 13 seasons, thank you. So, I mean, the fact that this man is just an absolute winner, playing center field for the Yankees is, a boyhood dream. And he did it the right way. And he did it in a time where, he was taking the baton from Babe Ruth and from Lou Gehrig, and he had to keep the tradition going with Yankees winning. Not to mention the fact that he had a brief marriage with one of the hottest women on the planet of all time in Marilyn Monroe. Good on Joey D. I know
you cannot leave that part out. That is very important to the mystique of Joey D.
Yeah. So Joe DiMaggio, good on him. He's my number 3 on this Mount Rushmore here.
The 56-game hitting streak is unlikely to be broken. That's another one that's very unlikely to be broken. He hit safely in 56 straight games, and it's nearly 2 months with getting a hit in every game. That's insane. The concentration that takes, the waving away of all the distractions and what have you, that's unbelievable. He definitely belongs here for that and many other reasons.
Totally agreed. So here's the final piece. You got to go with the Mick. Mickey Mantle is the 4th face on that Mount Rushmore for the Bronx Bombers. Understand this, the man is a switch hitting like dynamo superstar, 18-time All-Star. He's won 7 World Series rings with the Yankees. He's literally considered one of the greatest all-round, not just Yankees, but players in baseball history. Mickey Mantle, easy grab here. Again, taking the baton from Joe DiMaggio in center field and carrying that along. And what's interesting about Mickey Mantle is out of the entire Mount Rushmore, he was the only one still playing while the Mets had started up in 62. He played up until 68, which is no surprise and maybe no mistake, because the second Mickey laid down his bat is the year the Mets turn around and win their first World Series. Coincidence, Mr. Spear? I think not.
I think not. You also left out the fact that he was a 3-time MVP and he won the Triple Crown in 1956.
Mm-hmm. I didn't want to brag, but we got a lot of goodness.
You are bragging. You're putting this guy on the Mount Rushmore of Yankees, which in and of itself is already historically relevant. So
it is.
Brag a little bit for the Mick.
All right. So, but what's interesting is when I look at my list, my Mount Rushmore, I don't have one pitcher on it. Spear, you have 1 on yours. Dan, you have 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that also gets me to think, well, maybe there should be a lightning round of Mount Rushmore, but not the greatest players. Now I want you to think of who would be the 4 players, alive or dead, that let's say you find yourself in a little bit of a pickle, maybe at Pickles Pub. Let's just set the mood here. Let's say you find yourself about to be in a bar fight and you have to open with like your best cheesy line or something that you're trying to do a cheesy pickup line on a lass. For example, I might walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, you look familiar. Were we ever in the same class? Because I could swear we have chemistry together." And then what I don't know
Oh my
is
God.
3 feet away, this beautiful gal's boyfriend overhears it and is ready to just drop me like third period English. Now, I have behind me my crew, my Mount Rushmore of Yankees players who would back me up in a bar fight. Consider Roadhouse style. Who are your 4 Phillies, Dan and Spear? Who are your 4 Mets? To
For me, it's
join
easy.
you.
It's easy. It's easy for me to take any 4 of the 1986 New York Mets other than Gary Carter, and I'm fine.
Yeah.
Why is that, Spear? Wait, Dan, let him go on about this. Is this about the cocaina that was
Well,
flowing?
They were
in the clubhouse?
animals. The '86 Mets were animals. I mean, they fought with each other. They fought with other people. They were on all kinds of different stuff. I'll take any of the '86 Mets because not only were they animals, but they won. So I will take anybody except for Gary Carter, who was just
And why not Gary Carter? Why? Because
he was
a
just
gentle
such
soul.
he was just such a good dude. You know, he didn't do any of the rough stuff. You know, Gary was just a good dude. The kid, he's out. He's out. But I'll take you pick any 4 at random of the '86 Mets. I'm fine.
So let's understand something here, right? So if I'm in a bar fight, right, with you, Spear, right, and I see your 4 crew, if I see Darryl Strawberry and I see Keith Hernandez,
Yeah,
and
Keith Hernandez, Roger McDowell, Doc
McDowell would be a good
Gooden.
one. Well, Wally Backman.
Yeah,
or Ray
I would
Knight.
get out of the way. I would get out of the way of Ray Knight. I would get out of the way.
Let's definitely get out of the way, Ray
Get
Knight.
out of the way.
All
Get
right.
out of the way.
All
Do
right.
not mess with the '86 Mets. That's the bottom line.
All right. So the '86 Mets interchangeable, except for Gary Carter. That's on your bar fight squad. Perfect. Lil Hammer fighting Phils. Let's earn that title there. Who's fighting with you?
Now, what I'm going to say is, I mean, like it's going to probably be like, you're spilling a beer on someone by accident, and then like everything goes like ape shiz. I don't know. Hold on a second. Let me. How am I supposed to say that?
8 shiitake mushrooms.
Ape shiitake mushrooms. Like
Oh,
everything goes
God.
ape shiitake mushrooms. The guys that I would go with, it would definitely be similar to what Spear just said. Mine would be the '93 Phils. I mean, right off the bat, I mean, like those guys were just hopped up on beer, hot dogs, and tobacco. Those guys
That's what the
were,
clubhouse smelled like. That's what,
yeah, and
that's what the
cigars.
clubhouse and
Absolutely.
cigars.
Yeah, just straight up. And like the first guy that would want to have my back has to be the dude, Lenny Dykstra. So he would be my first one. Next guy would have to be Dutch Dalton.
Mhm.
So, and then my third one
Wild
had to
thing.
be Wild Thing.
Yeah.
Mitch Williams.
Mhm.
Mitch
Yep.
Williams is my third one. And the last one, and you might find this to be a surprise, but I feel like he has like, a little bit of crazy in him. And I have to go with the Cruxter.
No, I absolutely believe he has
Yeah.
a lot of crazy in him.
He has a lot of crazy.
He's got a lot of
So
crazy.
I feel like those 4 guys, I want them behind me by going into a bar fight.
See, that's a solid answer, right? And I would
I would
totally
take
agree.
those guys.
Yep.
And so here's mine. All right. So he's my George Washington. George Washington, Babe Ruth is going to join me in a bar fight for a variety of reasons.
No, those reasons are well understood.
Yeah.
They're well understood.
Absolutely.
Well, how about the fact that his father was a tavern owner in Baltimore? He used to live in a flat above a bar. So
I was
he
gonna
knows
say-
everything there's to know about
breaking
what's
up bar
happening.
brawls. Yep.
Yeah, well, I
About
was
breaking
gonna
up
say,
bar
like,
brawls.
Yeah.
He'd probably put a cigar out on someone's forehead.
Well, no, he would also like figure out how to end this bar fight, but then also after it's done, say, all right, let's make nice with the bartender. We'll get ourselves some free drinks along the way, boys. So, and plus, I mean, how can you not want to party with Babe Ruth? The second gentleman I have here, very imposing gentleman. I need an enforcer, and that would be Dave Winfield.
Oh,
The
yeah.
reason why I chose Dave Winfield, if you don't know, I mean, the man was like 6'6", 280 pounds, just solid athlete. I mean, the guy played football, basketball, baseball. Obviously, he chose baseball, but he was not immune, and he was no stranger to the occasional fight. In fact, he charged not once but twice. He charged Nolan Ryan in a game. In fact, he charged Nolan Ryan when Ryan came high and tight, buzzed him with a fastball, and he charged the mound. And this was kind of a precursor to the Robin Ventura days, because this actually taught Nolan Ryan, if someone's going to charge me, they come at me with ill intent to harm. Therefore, I got to be ready. So his mind got built up from that experience with a hard charging Dave Winfield. So Dave Winfield's my second.
I changed my mind. Give me 3 of the 86 Mets and Nolan Ryan.
Yeah. See? Yeah, but do you want 69 Ryan or do you want, age 46 Ryan, right? Because he's the one who pummeled Robin Ventura.
I'll take 69 Ryan. I'll take
right.
69 Ryan.
You'll take youth. All right.
Cool. I mean, the guy could probably still pretty good in a fight. I'll take 69.
Yeah, well, he's Texan too, right? So
yeah,
Roadhouse. So here are my last two. For reasons similar to Dave Winfield, I want somebody that's imposing, somebody that's maybe going to look behind and be like, oh, I don't want to mess with that guy. And that would be Randy Johnson. Randy Johnson, all 6'10", 280 pounds of this gentleman, just staring you down in a bar fight. You'd be like, I might want to think twice about throwing a punch at this guy that tried to hit on my gal. Let's all, have cooler heads prevail here. But if things got rough and tumble, we all know that Randy Johnson could basically kill a bird in flight. In fact, that's what he has in common with Dave Winfield. Dave Winfield actually did the same thing from an outfield throw, killed a bird in mid-flight. Total freakish accident. So I want the Bird brothers on my team. And last and never least is the captain, Derek Jeter. I want Derek Jeter on my team.
Are you kidding?
I knew I was going to get this.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Let's hear this. Keep going. Keep going. I want to hear this. Here's why.
Dude, he would have left with the girl after, the cheesy pickup line.
That's right.
That is a chance. That is a chance one takes, little hammer.
He wouldn't even be in the bar fight. You guys would be knocking heads, and Jeter would already be gone with your dates.
Not true.
That's
not
right.
true.
That's absolutely right.
Let me explain why. I'll explain why. The reason why I chose Jeter is because this is a guy who knows how to take a punch. If you pay attention to what he did in 2004, trying to track down that foul ball going into the stands, and he basically went face first into the stands and was bloodied up to no business. That's a guy that's going to go hard for your team. That's a guy that's going to go hard for you in the bar. And yes, Daniel, the whole reason why we're even able to talk to this girl or her bevy of really cute girlfriends is because Derek Jeter is in our crew. So there's my Mount Rushmore. There's my bar fight crew. I've got Babe Ruth, Dave Winfield, Randy Johnson, and the captain, Derek Jeter, all for a variety of reasons, but very well thought out. Now fight me.
Dude,
I'll fight you on Derek Jeter.
I was going to say, you could have went with Mickey Mantle because that guy was an absolute brute.
The other guy I would have taken if I was you and I was a Yankee fan, which I can't believe you didn't choose, is Lou Piniella. Crazy Lou?
Oh, my God.
How the hell did you miss Lou Piniella?
Oh, my God.
No,
I
Lou's
take
good
everything
too.
back. Lou Piniella is number one. I totally forgot about Lou Piniella.
I stand corrected, Spear, and I will be the first to admit when I am wrong. So you're right. I think I'll take out. Still gonna keep
you
Jeter.
take out Jeter. You take
no,
out
I'm
Jeter.
Take out Randy Johnson.
You put in
I'm
Lou
going to take out
Piniella.
Randy Johnson, and I'm going to put in Lou Piniella.
Take out Jeter and put in Lou Piniella. Come on, man. Baseball bunch. We know how crazy he is. We watched that show. Right. He was insane.
You leave in Randy Johnson because he ends fights before they start. All you have to do is
I left him in there.
Well, then you leave him in there and you take out Pretty Boy Jeter and you let Lou Piniella beat the bejesus out of somebody.
Why do you have such a bad taste in your mouth because I chose Jeter?
He's a pretty boy. He's
That's
not getting into a bar brawl. Get out of here.
That's the whole point. Why do you think we're in the bar in the first place?
Get out of here. You're out of your mind.
I'm sorry.
Out of your mind.
These are my choices.
You know what? Just give me Lou Piniella. And that's all I need.
That's all you have. One guy is Lou Piniella. That's it. That's the one guy.
You want Sweet Lou. Oh, Lou.
Give me Sweet Lou.
So listen, I felt like this was a pretty solid list from everybody from the start. And then to take a little sidestep into the bar to enjoy ourselves in a victory drink. And, sometimes a little bump into somebody happens. Sometimes a bad cheesy line goes off and fists start flying. So who do you go to then? You can't go to your typical Mount Rushmore. Maybe you do. But chances are you're going to go to other folks.
Here's who you go to. You go to the members of the Three Tool Players podcast, and you can find every single one of our episodes on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or on YouTube. Make sure you smash the follow buttons, the like and follow, and the subscribe, just like the kids do. And you can find us on the TikToks at Three Tool Players and on X.com at Three Tool Pod. For Brian and Dan Hammer, I'm Chris Spear, and we thank you for listening to this episode of Three Tool Players.